All right, guys, today we're featuring Karim Omri. Karim's a structural engineer who actually got his undergrad in mechanical, which is kind of unique. Karim owns his own engineering firm, and he's got a YouTube channel. Now, what I love about his channel is not just that you get to hear from an experienced engineer, but an entrepreneur and also someone who hires engineers. There's a lot of value in this conversation. He's a great guy. I've gotten to know him a little bit. He's just a pleasure to talk to. First thing, let's go ahead and show him some love. Subscribe to his channel. Okay, I put the link right in the description. It's the first link that you see. Make sure to subscribe to my channel as well. Let me know of any comments, any questions you have for myself or for Karim. That's it. Enjoy. Karim, how's it going, brother?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good, man. Good. Glad to have you on again. We recorded this once already, but the the audio didn't turn out great, so here we are again. And yeah, let's just dive into it, man. I want you to tell everyone a little bit about your background and what you do now and all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So essentially, my name's Karim Omri. I'm from Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. So I'm a couple provinces over from you. I went to school for mechanical engineering. I graduated in 2012 with a bachelor's degree. I did a master's of applied science, focusing primarily on the structural kind of mechanical engineering. I graduated in 2013 from that. I worked for a few years, and then in 2016, I opened my own engineering firm. Yeah, so essentially, you'll notice, like, obviously, I have a YouTube channel as well, and we do mostly structural engineering videos. So you might think, okay, that's a little weird with the mechanical background, but essentially, all my work experience has been on the structural side. So that's kind of how that transition happened.
Mm-hmm. So you always kind of knew. Did you always know that you wanted to go into more the civil and structural side of things, and you just had to go down the mechanical route because that was what was available?
Yeah, so essentially, like, we're in a small town. Like, at our university here, there's only 3 engineering programs. There was mechanical, mining, and chemical. So we're kind of in Canada's, or really the world's mining capital. So I took mechanical. I knew I wasn't super into the civil stuff. Like, I didn't really like the geotechnical or any of the infrastructure work. I was more into purely the structural. Like, I just really enjoyed the idea of buildings and that kind of thing. And it kind of stemmed from when I was a kid, right? Like, I grew up kind of framing houses, building things with relatives and whatever. So yeah, that's kind of how it was almost kind of what I wanted to get into. And yeah, we didn't have a program, so I got into mechanical, and then through my co-ops and my internships, I was able to kind of get the structural experience I wanted. During my master's degree, I focused primarily on, again, like I said, the structural side of mechanical. And then when I graduated, I got a job, again, primarily focusing on doing structural work. So it's kind of the story of how the transition happened for anybody who's interested.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty smooth transition, and I think we'll get into your schooling sort of at the end, because I know you talk about like advice for students and new graduates and stuff. How about first, just tell me a little bit about your first job and what you did and what your experiences.
Like, do you mean my first internship or my first
like your full-time job?
Yeah, so my first job out of school, so I was essentially, it was for a small company. They were doing like equipment that would get put into underground mines. So my role was, it was kind of cool because it was a small company, so I got to kind of do a little bit of everything. So I was involved on the client implementation, on the design side, the client relations. I did a lot of project management there. We were also, like, it really involved, like, since it was a small company, it really kind of helped build my entrepreneurial skills as well. I got to see the whole process from getting clients to negotiating contracts to designing, issuing the products or whatever, then the implementation in the field. So that was great. It was I spent a lot of time in the underground mines. I think we talked about that kind of off camera, but like physically, 2-3 kilometers under the surface of the earth, implementing some of these designs. That was a pretty cool experience.
Is it as dangerous a job as they say it is?
No, it's super safe. Everything is so well regulated. There's like, so on the mining side, there's like ground control engineers, and their role is solely to make sure that the envelope, again, of the tunnel is safe. And I believe they do like inspections, and the whole the back of the tunnel, like, it's like the top and the sides, it gets rock bolted with some similar to like rebar with some epoxy. So essentially, like, there's a pattern that they use, I'm sure, and it's all super engineered to make sure that it doesn't collapse on your head.
Yeah, it's probably a big like safety factor that they.
Yeah, and they're super big on safety and training. Like, all the miners or people who work under there are super well versed in the safety and best practices. So anyways, it's an interesting world down there for sure.
Yeah, cool. All right. So you worked there for what, 2, 3 years?
Yeah, I think I was there until I got my PNs. I got my PNs there. Sorry.
Hmm. And then, so I know you mentioned before you always knew that you wanted to eventually open your own firm. And so
Yeah.
when did you kind of decide, okay, now is the right time to transition, and how was that like?
Well, I don't think there's ever a right time. I think kind of how it worked is like the company I worked for was super open. So like a lot of people would ask me, like a lot of other companies that I had made connections with would ask me like, hey, like can you just do a quick design for me?
Hmm.
Or like size a beam for my house or whatever it was. And my employer at the time was super cool with me. Just like they weren't like, because we were doing more like industrial stuff, they weren't really into the mining space, so or into the residential space. So like they had no problems with me kind of doing some moonlighting and what have you. And then the transition kind of happened. Like we had a 6 month old at home, and then I just said like, it's either now or never. Like I don't think I'd be able to
Yeah,
start a company now with my kids being older. So yeah, we just kind of it's either sink or swim, and we decided to swim here.
yeah. Was it sort of challenging in the beginning? It seems like, yeah, it seems like, so you kind of built up a lot of connections, a lot of clientele, and but still, it was probably tough in the beginning because you still have to like build that kind of credibility and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
like I think I made a video on my channel about that, but like it was like the credibility was a big one, but I had a decent name, so people kind of that wasn't the big part. The big part was like the cash flow. Like I had enough money to pay for my insurance.
mhm.
Like I paid my rent for a couple months, and then it was kind of like sink or swim, right?
Uh,
Um, but yeah, like I had a couple clients lined up, and yeah, like I probably could have cash flowed like 6 months without having any work, but unfortunately we kind of made it work. But yeah, like I pretty much stopped paying myself for the first year. Like I took like I probably cut my salary in half on the
yeah,
second year from what I was making prior, and then now we're finally back to making a decent
nice,
wage.
nice. So yeah, tell everyone a little bit about what you do at your firm.
Yeah, so my firm is we do structural, mechanical, and electrical services. Primarily focused on buildings. So we'll do anything from the actual structure of the building itself. We'll do the mechanical systems and the electrical systems for it as well. So the HVAC, plumbing, and then the power distribution, lighting, etc. For
Hmm.
the building. So and we also do a lot of forensics. So let's say there's a fire or there's a snow damage or whatever, what
Yeah.
have you. We'll kind of come in, do the forensic analysis, essentially determine if the structure is safe, if it needs repair,
Hmm.
if so, what kind of repairs, or if it's there's been a total loss and we need to take it down and start again, right?
Yeah.
So we do a lot of that, and yeah, we service residential, commercial, institutional, as well as industrial clients.
So people kind of they sort of find you. Is it like, okay, I'm renovating a house, or I just bought this commercial place, or whatever. They kind of sorry, they just kind of find you, and then you give them a quote kind of thing, and
Yeah, it depends. Like on the residential side, it's a lot of word of mouth, right? Like we have a
yeah.
pretty good reputation for being both knowledgeable, experience, as well as quick turnarounds on the residential side. So there we'll do anything from a full, like right now we're doing I think a 15,000 square foot house design at our office. We'll do that kind of thing. So that's more like quoted
Hmm.
with a contract. But oftentimes, like a lot of our clients just come to us now, and it's a lot of them don't want proposal; they just want to bill at the end of it. There's a lot of that on the commercial, institutional. It's more there's more things are tendered, so we'll put packages together for that.
Hmm.
And on the industrial side, it's usually just quoted, and then once we get the project, we'll get a purchase order and start designing.
Gotcha, gotcha. How big is your team?
Right now, four, and we got one more starting on Monday, so we'll be five.
Nice, nice. Uh, Mostly engineers, or
Yeah, like so there's myself, another engineer, and then two technologists and like a business development person who kind of focuses on
Mhm.
client management, client recruiting, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think our company is sort of similar. We have a guy who focuses on the business side, and mostly engineers, and then the tech. So
Right, right.
yeah,
That's where I find we lack a lot. Is like I wish we could have a few more techs right now, but I think that's kind of they're hard to find around here.
yeah. Yeah. All right. So what I guess what did the what did the other engineers do? Like I guess the juniors. What's
Yeah, so like
what's their
I do primarily the structural. We have a mechanical and electrical lead, who's the mechanical and electrical engineer. So he focuses on that. The techs are mostly they mostly kind of do the floor plans, the basic plans, and sometimes like some when they get more advanced or they kind of understand kind of what the drawing should look like or the deliverable, they'll kind of take it a little bit further. And sometimes they'll take guesses at sizing beams. So we have like spreadsheets and like programs that they kind of play around with. They'll take a guess at it, I'll check it. But yeah, like a lot of our techs are actually like really they've picked it a lot of the design side, they've picked up a lot of it. So there's a little bit of overlap there where they've kind of picked up some of that that design skill without necessarily being engineers. And then our EIT is just she focuses primarily on kind of supporting me on the structural side. So it's mostly like she'll do the calculations, review drawings, do details, coordinate with clients, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Great. What are I guess, for you personally, what are some of the best and worst parts of your job and of your industry? Because I know you talk a lot about some things that you maybe don't like about your industry. You have one about mental health. What I guess, well, we'll start first from the engineering standpoint. Like, what do you enjoy about what you do? What are some of the challenges? And then maybe we'll get into like some of the things about the industry itself.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Like about my job, like the things I love the most are like designing new things or like taking on projects that I haven't really taken on before. Like in the sense of like there's always a twist to it. Like I like the constant challenge. I'm not doing the same thing day in, day out.
Mm-hmm.
There's always like a new problem to every structure. It's never the same thing. So that's a lot of fun. And I like doing like I love doing restoration projects like the forensic stuff. Like that stuff's really exciting. Like in terms of we just finished one where there's a fire in a big apartment complex and we kind of went in and did our thing, and that stuff's really really fun.
It's kind of like those TLC shows, or like I'm thinking like when you have this old building or whatever, and then
those are the fun. Like they're super fun, and like you get to like see the old construction methods, and it's like you actually get to. It's a lot of fun. Like I really enjoy that part of it, like being on in the field and kind of seeing how things how we could and then seeing how we can make things better. Right? Like let's say the client wants to do an addition, and we can kind of do it more effectively. Like there's that stuff really excites me, like the kind of the problem solving and tackling those things. Yeah, like it's that's a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah. What about, I guess, some of the challenges? I know one of your videos you mentioned that a lot of the stress that you get is from being liable, and that an engineer, no matter how many times, let's say a building is sold, the engineer that put it together, put that design together, is liable like forever, and that can kind of so like just a little like I kind of understand what you mean, even though I'm not a PNG yet, so I don't have that kind of liability yet. I know like my senior he deals with a lot, and I'm like, so I kind of get it. But can you talk a bit more about that, and maybe I guess some of the challenges of being an engineer?
Like my biggest thing is like the race to the bottom, right? Like I don't really love how the profession's kind of being treated as kind of the low bid always wins,
Right.
or like, and there's a lot of people I hear all the time like, oh, I'm going to start my own firm and I'm going to charge as low as possible to get the work and get my name on it. It's like, okay, well, now like you're taking on all this liability, you're doing all this work. First of all, if you're by yourself, you might not have the team to do that size of work, which I see often. But yeah, and then on the payment side, like, okay, like we're all racing to be cheaper as possible with inflation, with everything else in life goes up, but we're fighting to be cheaper with each other. And then now, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
How would you kind of fix that?
Well, that like I don't know if that's mandated. Like I know of the dentists, their college mandates how like the rates, et cetera. Like I think like in our organization, like our PEO, Professional Engineers Ontario, they kind of have guidelines for these rates that we should be using. But again, like that doesn't really mean anything because I could do something in an hour that'll take somebody else 20 hours because they haven't done it before. So like maybe my rate's $300 an hour based on their guidelines, but theirs is $150. So it doesn't even make any sense. Like there should be some kind of standardized guideline in terms of whether it's a square footage cost or something that, again, maybe I don't have the answer on this, but I think it should be something that should be talked about at least. And
Yeah.
like again, like even around town, like we kind of have like between myself and the other business owners, we kind of know, let's say we're doing a slab on grade for a garage, which is a typical thing that we do. We all kind of have the same ballpark fee for that design. But then once in a while, somebody comes in, does it for like $200, and it's a little crazy, right? So it's kind of, I don't know if there's a proper way of really handling this. I think it's kind of just, we have to govern ourselves to make sure that we hold ourselves to a certain standard of charging out.
Yeah. Something I'm not really on the business side, so I'm learning a little bit about the business side, I guess, of engineering, just from working in a small company as well. But yeah, it's almost like you said, it's almost like a trading quality for price, right? And when sort of people that come to you, they know that maybe you're a bit more, but you've been around, like you've got enough credibility where hopefully.
Well, on that note, like I typically say this to a lot of our clients, like we are more expensive than our competitors,
Right?
but it's the three things, right? It's time, money, and quality. We are more expensive, but we are faster and deliver a higher quality product because we have, we've since I've started, we've probably done 1,500 projects, if I had to guess. So we have a pool of projects that we could pick and choose from, and we have that experience, right? So to me, that's worth the extra, maybe 10 or 15%.
Yeah.
And then they get it faster, right? Like that's kind of our competitive advantage. But anyways, that's that's a side rant, I guess.
Okay. What I want to talk a little bit more about YouTube and some of your. So what got you? You guys should all check out Karim's channel, and I'll plug it a bit more.
Thanks.
At the end and at the beginning of the video, but I really like your channel because so for someone like myself, I was out of my career for a long time. Like I took 4 years in between my jobs,
right?
And so even though I'm in my 30s, I've only worked for a few years, really, and so I get to learn from experience, not only from experienced engineers, but people who do the hiring, because probably the number one question is like how to get a job. Right? Or should I do a master's or this and that, like what industry to go to? So is that part of the reason? Like, what was the motivation to start a channel?
Yeah, like to be honest, like YouTube is probably like where I kind of get most of my entertainment from to begin with. So I kind of almost really enjoyed that side of thing. But again, like when I was a student, YouTube was still early in its days, but there was really nothing to kind of answer or show some of these things that would have been interesting to see. Like, how do you transition from a mechanical degree to the structural discipline? Like, I would have loved to see that. What are things to look for? Like, should you do a master's? Like, those are all questions that like aren't really. Like, I mean, when you're in school, you're kind of pushed by your professors to do certain things, and they might not have the full understanding, right? So I just kind of want to be another source of information for people. And again, I may be right or wrong about some things, but at least it's an opinion, right? And it's better to have more than less. And it's fun. Like, I love the community we've kind of built. Like, that's kind of the big thing I want to push is like everybody that kind of seems to subscribe to my stuff seems to like have good questions or have good comments, and it's really fun to kind of talk about some interesting things.
Yeah, I totally like. That's kind of what I enjoy the most too is the community, because you're right. There is, look, it's like these universities, and I don't know how much it is like this in other majors, but with engineering, there's so many different things you can do, and there's so little guidance.
Yeah,
because the professors, the professors are not engineers, right? They may have a degree, but they're there to teach you the material. But as far as like how to develop social skills, how to get internships, like things that are critical, none of those are taught, and I didn't do them myself either, and that's why I know how hard it was to like kind of find work, and so yeah, there is kind of a demand for this kind of stuff, which is
like I think you hit it on the head. Like, the professors aren't really trained, and like your colleagues really aren't trained. Like, unless you get internships and you get a good mentor, like that might kind of answer some of those questions, but unfortunately, like, there isn't really anything. So I think, and again, that's why I think I like your channels, because it's more, it fills the same role of kind of educating and answering those questions
Yeah.
for people.
Yeah, I was thinking, I know like we chatted about this because my suggestion would be because like we kind of both agree that apprenticeships are critical and that it would nice for me. I was like, well, it'd be nice if they were if this was like a graduate program where you had to work for just like a doctor or whatever. You work for 2 years and then so it becomes like a 6 year degree. You mentioned that. Well, it, it can be trouble there because maybe you know what you want to do. You have a job lined up. Well, what do you think? And I don't want to spend too much time on this, but what do you think the schools can do it better to sort of? Because I think that there are. I think we agree here. There's still a need for qualified graduates. It's not that
Right.
there are so many. It's not that there's a surplus of qualified engineers. Maybe there's some industries are definitely competitive, but there's still a big demand for qualified engineers.
Huge, especially like in where we are, like we can't hire enough engineers. It's there's
Really?
yeah, oh yeah, especially on the electrical side and the structural civil side. Like everybody's fighting to get either new grads or well, new grads a little bit less, but somebody with 2-3 years like that, they're impossible to find around here.
Wow. So mostly you're people that are so you look for a little bit of experience and you just can't find any?
Well, like you can, but it's hard to they're hard to find, and it's very competitive here for engineers. Like if you
Yeah.
come to Sudbury, that's that might be the place to go if you can't find a job
Yeah.
because there's a big need here for it.
So do you find a lot of people are not qualified in the terms that they just don't have the experience?
Yeah, like experience, but like we talked about, like it's the attitude too. Like some people
Skills,
really need
yeah.
to work on presenting themselves a little bit better. I find that the first impressions are usually the most important, right? So if people are kind of just like we talked about last time, like if people are just firing off 500 resumes on Indeed and hoping to get a hit, like it's not a numbers game, it's a quality of first impression. And for me anyways, that's always the thing I look for. Like, is your email, does it have spelling mistakes? Did you call me? Like, did you go the extra mile? Like, those are the things I look for on the internship side.
Yeah, so let's make a few pointers. So what would some of your tips be? So let's say I'm a new grad, I'm a
Yeah.
Mechie, I didn't do any internships, I've got no experience, I've sent out dozens of resumes, I haven't heard back. What would be some of your tips so that you're not one of the 100 of resumes or whatever?
Yeah, you
How
got to
would you
stand
start
out.
out?
Like, so let's say you're a mechanical engineer, you want to join our firm. Let's say on the HVAC side, for example, let's say that you don't have any internship experience, but when you were in high school, you worked at an old age home for a summer and you kind of played around with the boiler system. The first thing I would do is I would say, hey, you would pick up the phone, research the company, obviously, but for me, I'd say pick up the phone, say, hey, look, I don't have any experience. I'm a new grad. I don't have a ton of experience, but I'll work hard. I've been exposed to this. And I'm just wondering if I could, have 10 minutes of your time to come and have a discussion.
Mhm.
And like not make it a sales pitch, but kind of get your foot in the door and show that you're willing to not just wait and wait behind your computer and wait for somebody to give you the opportunity. Like, go get it yourself, right? And then honestly, like if somebody did that, I'd hire them. Like, I wouldn't hire them, but I'd give them the shot. Like, why? Who am I to say no to that? Like, you went out of your way, you made effort, and if you're going to do that to get the job, I can only imagine how good you are going to be at the job or at learning the job because you're already so passionate about getting into the chair, right? So that's kind of that's the best advice. Like, people who just fire off resumes, like, I don't get it.
You did one of your hires did do exactly that, right?
Exactly that. Oh yeah, it was awesome. She walked in. That's pre-COVID. She walked in and kind of handed her resume, said, "Hey, look, this is me. I worked at the city. I did this. I did that. Can we just have a quick? Can we have a quick chat?" And we interviewed her, and then she's actually really awesome. So
Yeah.
it really we got really lucky with that one.
Yeah, I think I 100% agree. Social skills and persistence are super super important. Just like a little bit about my own story, like the job that I have now, it's an aerospace job, and I have no experience in aerospace, and I was out of my career for 4 years. So I definitely wasn't qualified to get it, but I was persistent with the guy, and
Right.
because I don't know, I don't think I ended up calling, but we communicated over email, and we go back and forth, and then he would kind of ghost, and then I'd follow up a couple of days, and
Yeah.
we go back and forth, and then he would stop replying, and I'm like, nope, keep trying. So,
No.
and eventually he's just like, okay, just coming for an interview tomorrow. Like, That's all it takes sometimes.
And again, like to me, it's like you're showing that like, okay, like if I give you a project, I know that you're not gonna drop the ball because you followed up to get the job. So you've already
Yeah.
proven, like, um, that's something I look for sure is
Yeah.
that persistence
No,
and
that's no that's really good. It's really good to hear from from someone that hard because they're. I think I've gotten a few comments too. They're like, well, yeah, you'd say social skills. That's so vague. And it's like it's not
not
vague
really
because when you don't have the technical skills, you better have social skills.
something.
You better have
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah.
and yeah, that is a way to stand out. What on the technical side, what are some technical skills that you look for? Let's say because I'm sure you do look at resumes as well. What kind of stands out on what would stand out on a resume?
So this is kind of a touchy one too. Like, if you're a new grad and you just kind of list the software used in school and the stuff that everybody else did, like you're not going to stand out. So I really look forward to like, okay, like if like the industry that we're in, you switch to like Revit, which is something that's not taught in school. But if a student or somebody that's kind of a new grad, they other than showing MATLAB, SolidWorks, or whatever they learned in school, they showed, okay, I actually did Revit. I took an online course on my own time, and or however they worded it, but they showed that they used kind of the industry standard software or like something that I know isn't taught at school. That's something that usually stands out. Like it's again, the self starters is really what I look for in people. Like that's the biggest thing I look for.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because like everybody, like I get resumes all the time that says, "Oh, fluid dynamics, thermodynamics, strengths and materials."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I know that's literally what a degree means. Like you don't have to keep writing that.
Don't bother putting your courses on.
No, and I see that like on the new grad side, I see that all the time, and it's kind of so. And on the more senior side, like people, I like when people list like past projects, but like they're like they got to be specific. Like sometimes we get like people that worked at big firms, so they'll list like a project that has no value towards what we do, right? So that's really where, like, if they kind of that's something else I look for more on the senior.
Yeah, that was another question that I just got a comment on that is like, how do I what would your advice be for switching industries? Like if
Yeah,
someone's worked in, um, I don't know, in my industry, you'd be like, oh, I work in oil and gas, I want to switch to aerospace. Because a lot of times we get a ton of resumes and my boss is like, 20 years in oil and gas, it's great, but it's like, I'm just
yeah,
looking for someone. I'm not going to like call these guys back. Like, how would you go about kind of switching
that's a
industries? It is tough.
it's a tough. Well, it's tough on two sides, right? Like, let's say you're used, like that person's probably used to getting 20 years of experience pay too, right? So if you're trying to get into a different industry where you're at kind of the new grad level with some experience, obviously, what I'd probably do is like I'd probably look for project management roles and kind of get into that first, and then transition into more of a design role, if that makes sense. So like let's say you're 20 years in oil and gas and you want to get into aerospace, I'd probably get into a project management in aerospace, kind of do that transition first, and then transition to a design or some kind of like I'd have a stepping stone in that industry prior to getting into the design.
Let's say you're maybe 20 years kind of exact. Let's say 2-3 years, right? Let's say
Okay.
let's go with a little. Let's say I'm a manufacturing engineer or product engineer, and okay, I want to get into design. Would you
Right.
still have that same sort of?
No, that'd be different for sure. Like
Okay.
in that case, to be honest, I'd probably just go in and show like I'd tailor my resume to show, okay, like this is the skills I've learned. I'd be clear in saying I want to get into like you're into manufacturing, you want to get into design. I'd put a header that said like I know I'm not qualified for this essentially, but please look at me because I want to get into this. And again, don't like word it so that it makes sense. But like that'd be like the tagline I'd look for. Because obviously once you like make that the first thing that you see on your resume, and then I'd probably just go in, 2-3 years, like take it as a kind of a career switch and make a lateral move here. Like I don't think
Yeah.
pay wise it shouldn't be that big of a pay drop if any at all. That should be more of a lateral move. And if you show that you're interested, like I would look at somebody who wants to be in that industry, right? Within the first 5 years, that's when you kind of figure out what you like and what you don't like, what industries you like, what you don't like. Your first job shouldn't really define the rest of your career. And I think most people kind of understand that too, like on the hiring side. So if somebody kind of came in and and they were clear, like, okay, I get the 2 years of manufacturing, I want to get into design. These are the things I've learned. I'm looking to make a lateral kind of junior entry role, and that'd be something that's probably how I'd approach that.
Mm. Yeah. Because I mean, you can definitely still parlay some of your skills in
for
your other
sure.
job, and for
And
sure.
just
Yeah.
like just the experience of going to a job is huge, right? Like learning how to like go get coffee with the other employees, all those kind of things that answer emails on time, like have a schedule. Like those are all things that are valuable, and that's why I'm saying it's kind of a lateral move within the first 5 years.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, students, what would be some of your advice? I know we
Here,
talked
just one
about
sec. My kids just got home and they're
sure,
being
sure.
super loud.
What advice would you have for students? Because I know you did a lot in school and you got a lot of internships. So, how would you getting an internship? Is it sort of the same sort of thing? Um, and then maybe some other things that students can do.
Yeah, the big thing for internships, like don't wait until May or like the end of the semester to start looking for an internship. I'd probably start looking in December or January that year. And again, take the same tips I gave, like tailor what you're saying. Say, look, I'm super interested in design or manufacturing, and I want to and like kind of break it down like that. You have no experience, they know that. Don't specifically look for companies to have student postings. Go and like find companies you like and pick them and then go and apply. Like pick up the phone. And I know people don't like picking up the phone in this generation, but just pick up the phone, talk to somebody.
Well, a lot of jobs are not posted. Most jobs are actually not posted.
No,
Like
for
70,
sure.
80% of jobs are not posted. So yeah, that's true. Pick up the phone because you never know.
Yeah, and it sounds crazy, but like even at my firm, like I prefer to hire the person, even if there's not necessarily a job, if I see that that person is
Ooh,
somebody that I want to work with or that
interesting.
I could see value in that person, right? Like there's not always the posting, like you said, like, and if somebody really shows that, okay, like that's somebody I want on my team and work with, like, yeah, like come spend 4 months with us this summer and let's see what you could actually do.
Mm.
And yeah, like I'd focus on that. Like I joined, like, so like when I was in school, I was part of the NSOC. So I was involved in that every year. So I get involved in that for sure.
Is that
I
like
do
a club?
the engineering society, like,
Oh, okay. Interest society. Okay.
so like I was, yeah, like I was part of the CFES. Like, so like we went to all the conferences, with all the other NSOCs across Canada. So like I got
Oh, wow.
contacts through that for, like, I'm sure I met people from your university too, right? So
Yeah,
it's kind
yeah,
of, it's all like, I get involved in that and meet people, make contacts, and like keep the contact list. Like you never know when you'll talk to somebody, or let's say like you're super interested in a job and somebody you met from that company is through the MSOC works there, then that'd be somebody to talk to or whatever, right? So yeah, get the contact list going, make friends, and that'd be. It sounds kind of cliche, but
yeah. Connections, right? Yeah, you almost have to like start. I would think it starts from your first year, like kind of building your resume, or you want to call it, right? Like making friends, or at least making friends, at least because it's something that I never did, and it's one of my regrets. Is like I was very introverted in throughout my early 20s, and like came out of university with like a couple of people that I knew, but it was like, it makes it tough, right? You don't want to make things tough on yourself. It's always easier when you know people. Um, it just
well, even to get through school, like the people, it's like in school there was probably a group of like 6 of us, and like we did our projects together, we did our
there you
homework
go.
together. Like it made it so much easier.
Yeah,
Like, and it's cool. Like even one of the guys like that was kind of in that group, he started his own business 2 years ago, and like I was helping him, and it was cool, right? Like it's and like it all works out. And then there's another guy in our group that like we all sell to because he works for like one of the big mining companies. So it's kind of
hmm,
like you never know where those contacts are going to come in.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's good. It's good to hear from you. It's all a lot of it is just is meeting people. Well, damn, I think we covered like that was a half an hour. What's your final question? I guess. What's your sort of dream day? What's your sort of kind of perfect day? I know you're a
Perfect
family guy.
day.
Yeah.
In what sense? Like
Just like is it kind of just spend time with your family, or like what's like your
right now, oh, I just
yeah
can't wait for the snow to leave so we could go boating. That's
yeah
all
you
I'm
do
thinking.
well, I guess
Yeah,
are you right on the coast?
yeah. We're just on the small lake. But yeah, like we have a sailboat and the kids and whatever, right? We just want to kind of get
That's
out there.
awesome,
And,
man. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, that's it. Like simple guy, I guess.
No, no, no. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I guess we'll end it there.
Yeah. What's your dream day?
My dream day.
Yeah.
My dream day, yeah, probably into some nice weather, playing some basketball, couple
Oh
friends.
yeah.
Barbecuing. Well, I'm
Oh yeah.
vegan.
You big into
I'm vegan
barbecuing?
now, so then
Oh
barbecue
yeah.
tofu and stuff. Yeah, yeah. But
Is this recent or is this
yeah, it's been about 3 years.
okay?
Yeah.
And what was the kind of catalyst for that? Just kind of got over it, I guess, or
Initially it was a health. I just wanted to try it, and then it became more of an ethical choice.
right, right.
It's
That's
kind of what.
cool.
So, but yeah, we still barbecue some Beyond Meat burgers and stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's fun.
Those
That's
are good.
fun.
And yeah, I don't know, just like hanging out with friends, playing guitar. Like
You
that's
play guitar?
a little bit, a little bit.
Yeah. What kind of stuff are
Sitting
you
in the
playing?
corner there hasn't been touched in a while, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
like no, I grew up like playing piano and I don't know, I was really big into like I'm a big like John Mayer fan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's incredible. Every time I hear him, I'm just like, fuck, I need to pick up the guitar again because
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, he's pretty dope. But yeah, I'm pretty simple as well, I guess. I
Yeah,
guess.
that's cool. I play the drums too, so next time
No
you're in town,
way.
play some music.
Let's do it, man. Hey, if engineer doesn't work out, we gotta.
Side gig as a touring band.
Yeah. All right, my man. Well,
Hey,
bro, pleasure having you on. And make sure everyone check out his channel, Karim Omri,
yeah,
KarimOmri. It's great. It's even great for people like myself who want to learn more. Um, and yeah, so I'll leave that link in the bio. Make sure to subscribe. Let me know what you guys thought of the video. Give it a thumbs up.
a
See
big
y'all,
thumbs up if you
big
watched it this
thumbs
far.
up. See y'all next time.
Okay, see you guys. Okay, cool.
Sweet, bro.